Hello and welcome to this MST Writing for Performance micro lecture, and today we're going to look at a very simple fundamental issue, that of dialogue, and I'm going to give you 4 tips for writing good dialogue which is almost literally too good for words. Firstly, write fewer words. All dramatic dialogue is implicit. It floats in a sea of meaning created by what we can see happening on screen or stage, by what happened moments earlier, by what we can hear in sounds and music now, by what we've been taught by the story so far to expect. So all dialogue, dramatic dialogue, is implicit. It rests on lots of other stuff, and it assumes you're getting information from lots of other places. It's also shaped by a character's personality, by their mood in that moment, by the relationship between the speaker and the person spoken to, etc., etc. A lot of words, looked at in another way, a lot of words around the dialogue in a story or a novel are used to establish context and indicate modulation. I said irritably contains a bit of content and some modulation. I said irritably arising from the orange plastic seat of an all-night cafe and tipping myself out into the street contains a bit of context, some modulation, and maybe the beginning of some plot. But dramatic dialogue is speech that can afford to travel light. It doesn't need all that contextualizing. In most cases, this means what a character needs to say in order to be understood is less explicit. And that usually means fewer words. In the words of Peter Brook in his book The Empty Space, for the author and then for the actor, the word is a small visible portion of our gigantic unseen formation. 2. Write more space. It's almost the same thing, but not quite. It's resting on the point that all writing for performance assumes mediation or articulation by someone, by actors. It might include the writer as one of those actors, but it might be a completely separate third party of people. So write space for those collaborators to work. They will engage not only with their energy, but with their imagination and creativity too. "Stop writing in that book," said Jan angrily as they stormed into the library, which might be a line from a terrible novel, becomes in a dramatic script, well, some writing that isn't heard at all. Jan storms into the reading room. And then the attribution of the line, Jan, : and then a word, stop, and that's it. Let Jan and his, her, their director decide the rest. 3. Feel the urge. Chekhov said, and he's the answer to most questions about drama, Chekhov said, "Tell me what you want, I'll tell you who you are." Pirandello, the Italian playwright and commentator, said, "Spoken action, that's what dialogue is. It's action that is spoken. Dramatic action is, according to S.H. Butcher, the kind of action which, while springing from the inward will, manifests itself in doing." So action is people doing stuff, but not just random stuff that's connected with an inward will. He also uses the phrase, very 60s this, psychic energy moving outwards. Drama begins when a character, driven by that inward will, tries to achieve something and encounters difficulties, trials and obstructions along the way. But the wants and desires within drive her on. So, if you want to write good dialogue, understand what your character wants. And their dialogue will never be mere conversation, but part of their outward striving to satisfy those inner wants and desires. And this is true however partial the character's understanding of what it is that makes them tick. Sometimes we don't know really what we want, and yet we are still driven. 4, speak as you think. Between desire, that is driving you on, that inward will, and action, the stuff that is done, which is its fruit in the world, is thought. It's arguably the job of the drama to drive its characters to distraction, when the normal, perhaps quite correct inhibitions that keep a thoughtful, controlled person's passions in check disintegrate. If all your characters are self-possessed, calculating types who decide in advance on a course of action and deploy the most efficient and eloquent language to pursue it, you've got a really dull play on your hands. So shorten the distance between thought and action by increasing the pressure on a character. That could be emotional pressure, physical pressure, could be just the pressure of time. I've got to get there and I must do this first. And then they become less predictable, more exciting characters, and probably less coherent speakers. Dialogue begins to crack under the pressure. Think of Othello. Think of Macbeth. Think of Hedda Gabler, of Walter White, of Thelma and Louise. Think of studying on the MSD Writing for Performance.